All right, so I've got George with us, and really appreciate George. If you could see George further back, you'll see that he's got loads of crosses hanging off his neck. Um, Wonderful friend of mine, really open-minded. Love discussing stuff with him. We also disagree about stuff, but whatever, right? That's the whole point. That's why I've got him here because I need some sort of interaction. So who am I? I'm a Muslim. I like making people happier. Even if you're not Muslim, you can learn from the benefits of Islamic teachings. Do you want to say something about yourself, George?
I'm George. I was brought up in a from a Roman Catholic and Maronite background, but with my talks with Khalid, I've been learning a lot about Islam, and I feel like on most points we agree, but there's just a few points where we don't agree.
That's a fair point. And uh, the way George said my name, Khalid, just because I don't even say my name properly, it just reminds me just that he's from Lebanon, an Arab. Very interesting guy. Let's get going with this stuff. So first of all, we're going to talk about the benefits of Ramadan fasting. And that's just not ordinary fasting. There's a lot of benefits of the way Muslims do it in Ramadan. One thing is so because it's happiness stuff. I do want to quickly point out how does it affect happiness before I get into my 3 points. So Ramadan fasting, and I've got notes on the screen by the way, Pete, that I'll share with the viewers in the comments, whatever they want the sort of summary of what I'm going to say. But Ramadan dry fasting means not drinking, which nowadays fasting has become popular with health enthusiasts. So, but they often drink. They differentiate between dry fasting and wet fasting or something, water fasting. Um, so in short, it helps with your health, it helps with community, and it helps with perspective, like the way you think about the world. So you become happier. So all these three elements is what I'm going to be talking about. So let's just get into the first point, health, right? So it's actually an ancient practice, Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, the Aborigines even did it, and the Native Americans, right? And they did it all for the same reasons that Muslims do it, the health, spirituality, community, whatever, right? Okay, so the fact that it's such an ancient practice, and these people probably knew health better than we did, because like we just take all sorts of nasty drugs nowadays, which have tons of side effects, and we've got so many illnesses. We should not think that we're in the modern era that we're healthier. We're actually so much more stupid, right? I lived in a countryside in the Middle East, much closer to land and animals and stuff, and I got understood my body a bit better. When these people, they lived by the land all the time. They were not detached like we were. Right? We think chicken is just chicken legs. Do you know what I mean? Chicken breast, and you forget the rest of the animal, right? In Jordan, where I live, we ate everything, the brain, the eyeballs, whatever, right? And for Westerners, that's disgusting, but that's because they're so detached. So I just want to get people out of the mindset that they think they know what health is, like they're just relearning it. So that's one mini point that's not that's the intro to the point. Sorry, getting okay, which is it's an ancient practice. And then dry fasting itself, people go, oh no, not drinking water. Kids do it easily, first of all, but also it accelerates the benefits of fasting. And I haven't even got into the benefits of fasting. And I'll quickly say the quick benefits of fasting, which is fixes obesity, right? It cleanses the body. There's lots of rubbish in your body that just gets stuck and it takes it out, right? And I'm going to put a link so you can listen to the technical realities behind it. It improves immunity of all sorts, and it even grows your brain. Like there's so many things, but just I love things in threes, so I talk about just those three things. And of course, this is not just me talking. This is from the Quran. So the Quran says fasting is prescribed for you as it was before you, because it is good for you. That's one of the things it said. And I'll put the quotes and everything in the comment when we put this upload this. Hopefully I didn't mess up something there. George, what do you think about that so far?
I agree that fasting is really important. We do it also in Christianity, and I do it all. I try and do it all year round when I'm in the mood because it does work. It helps me reduce my body weight, and it resets your body because what your body does is once you've gone into a long period of fasting, your body's like, okay, I need emergency energy here. So the first thing it does is let me look for old decaying dead cells and use that as energy, which therefore, it could have anti-cancer effects, anti-aging effects, because your body is automatically looking for unhelpful cells to use for energy. So there's great benefits. However, I disagree that we should fast from water, and the reason is that's an essential compound. And when you dehydrate, your body starts messing up. Your brain, you get headaches, your brain doesn't function properly, your kidney filtration system starts to break down, and then you've got all these toxins in your body that aren't getting washed out. So while I agree with fasting from food, I disagree with fasting from water.
Cool. So, as I said to George before we start, it's not going to be a debate. He's going to say something. I'm going to say something, and this is just my clarification point. So, first of all, thank you, George. I was getting light on the benefits, and you were just like you said all these other things, which are 100% true. Even like anti-cancerous and cleans out your body and all sorts of crazy cool stuff that people are just learning right now. Um, the the ancient ways of fasting were dry fasting, like Jesus would dry fast. The Jews dry fast. So, and there's some wisdom in that. So I've got a friend who's a Muslim who likes to water fast. And like, listen, man, people just figured out right now that is, it's good for you. And God been teaching this for thousands of years. So there's a clue in that. There's probably the way that God taught it for thousands of years, probably the better way, and actually is coming out that dry fasting is actually better for you. You just like you said, that putting in your body in sort of, what did you say? What was that, like starvation? Not starvation mode, like emergency mode or something. You said, right? That's kind of description health experts talk about it, right? It's the same with water. It's just another part of that emergency that it and your body does adjust, okay, and it gets better for it. But I suppose I should say, like, it's important because I'm talking about Ramadan fasting, not like any old Western fad fasting. And Ramadan fasting is very specific, sunrise to sunset, and it is a bit dangerous if you don't, because some of these people, these health enthusiasts, go over a couple of days. It's like, no, 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 that would be mental. Don't go without water for a couple of days, right? This is just sunrise to sunset. And there are so many benefits to doing it the Ramadan way. I keep forget the way. It's like the circadian cycle, your sleep cycle, and it's related to sunset and sunrise. There's so many things connected to that. It gives the right length of time. Blah blah blah. So that's how I think about it. You have the last word on this, George.
Yeah, just back up the same points. Like, maybe there are some benefits to fasting from water that I'm not aware of. But what I know is that water is just an essential compound, and it's better to be safe than sorry when it comes to water. That's what I'll end with.
Cool. Okay. The second benefit of Ramadan fasting is community, right? So, massive problem in the West, loneliness, right? So, what does Ramadan fasting do? It gives you a shared cause. So, like everybody's doing it, everybody's in it together, right? And it's a little bit difficult. If it was too easy, it wouldn't be a cause. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we're all doing it, all going for it, okay? Then there's more mosque meetups, right? Because everybody's trying harder. You're supposed to be going to the mosque all the time anyway, right? And Islam is number one communal religion of the world, right? Because it's just like you gotta meet 5 times a day. You gotta meet before work even. Do you know what I mean? In the local mosque. It's crazy. It's so healthy communally, right? And then on top of that, there's the big party every night. Like in mosques around the world, up and down the country, there's hundreds of people just eating together. How cool is that? And if you can't make it to the mosque, at least you're eating together as a family, which is really healthy as a family. Like what it does, it kind of fixes a schedule for the whole of society for that month. Like everybody, guys, you know, um, we're breaking fast at sunset, and everybody knows on the dot what time sunset is. Do you know what I mean? And then you eat together, and there's a huge power to eating together. In Islam, eating together has has a great value. Normally, you're not supposed to eat too much or something, and you definitely should not eat too much, but you can at least eat your fill, especially in Islam, when you're eating together, so people feel more relaxed together. So, community is a massive thing. It's so good for your happiness. Any thoughts, George?
Yeah, I mean, I once read a statistic that men who go to church regularly live longer. And I think that is purely because of the word you mentioned, community. So I say that that would apply to people who go to mosques, who go to the temples. Being a part of something is very important because loneliness can kill. Loneliness can kill.
Loneliness is the biggest killer in London. Nuts. And London, which is so packed, we're living in these tiny houses. We don't even have any space between each other, but we don't make eye contact, don't smile at people on the trains and stuff like that. So, yeah, cool. All right. And oh yeah, I'm supposed to give you last thoughts. Go on. Last thoughts. Any more thoughts?
I mean, it's interesting, this London fact. Yeah, I agree. This is why Khalid knows this as well. Like, I'm trying to get out of London because it's just not a place for community.
I tell you what, so many people are trying to get out of London. Now we're working online. There are a lot of people trying to get out of London for a lot of reasons like that. Anyway, last point, the most important point, but I kind of go for most materialistic so people can appreciate to least materialistic is the spirit. I say I don't even like to use the word spiritual because that word has been so abused, but like improves your the spirit, the how you feel inside, and this is again what all the ancient faiths and spiritual teachings, even Native Americans. I did a little bit of research on it. That's why this is a key thing for why they do it. They don't just try to get more healthy, right? Okay, so how does it do it? It improves your calmness. That's a very key thing in Islam. Um, the word calmness is not exactly used. It's called sabr, which means patience, but in Arabic, because George is an Arab, the Arabic is way deeper than anything you get in English. So when I looked into lexicon stuff, it said basically means you're very calm. You don't differentiate between getting too excited and too sad. And so how does that affect your spirituality? Because when you are really arrogant and too energetic, right? You're not thinking deeply. So that calmness is massive. Like if you're a big fan of the movies like I am, Yoda, all these important people, the green faced guy, right? Just calm. These guys know spirituality better than the crazy people, right? Like us Western crazy, addicted to materialistic kind of people, right? And then there's a self control. Like you need self control to get to your higher self. If you're like, this is what Islam is about. Islam has got these three stages: the nafs amara, which means like the animal self, basically. This is the rough translation. Amara means the one that incites to evil, but like basically means animal self, the weak self in between, and the free self, basically. And the way to get from the animal self upwards is self control. It's if we're going to sort of Jordan Peterson terminology, and we're both kind of fans to some extent, right? Okay,
Yeah.
he's talking about moving away from chaos, right? That's what Western society has become. Oh, we want to be free. Like, yeah, we want to be free. And now you're depressed because you got no rules, right? So it gives you some self control that you need, and it's all. I watched a brilliant video of these people, not Muslim, trying to do the Ramadan fasting, and they said it's the most regimented part of they've never lived so regimentally. You wake up, eat this time, go for prayers, blah blah blah, all the way till evening, right? And then finally, sensitivity, which is the best bit about fasting, sensitivity. Like my son was telling me this word, food coma. Ever heard of it, George?
Good
Like
call.
eat. Yeah, maybe it's kind of like these young people words, right? Basically, you eat so much that you pass out, something, right? Okay, so
I've been
Islamic.
there.
You've been there, okay? Yeah, maybe you're because you're an Arab partying too much, right? Because Arabs are the best. I'm kind of saying in a good way because Arabs are like the best hosts in the world and just eating and eating.
We love our stomachs.
Sorry, yeah, but
Love our
but also
stomachs.
you love other people's stomachs. That's what I think. Because what I mean by that is you'll eat so other people eat. Do you know what I mean? And that's very
You get
actually
force
Islamic.
fed. You get force fed.
Yeah, I mean literally, I've had food put in my mouth because I wasn't eating fast enough in Syria when I was there, right? But the point is that Islam talks about eating one third, drinking one third, and leaving one third for light, right? You need to do the opposite of food coma. You need to improve your sensitivity to spiritual things, right? Because we become really insensitive in our materialistic society. And again, I should be quoting verses of the Holy Quran that I'm referring to, but it's kind of really one or two verses again and again. It says prescribed fasting is prescribed for you so that you may become righteous. That's the main thing, right? But again, yeah, George, any thoughts?
So I have a theory that our spirit is like deep in the back of our head, deep subconscious, right? What some people call the animal mind, deep in that. And I think what happens to us on a day-to-day basis is our animal mind tells us certain things like, I feel horny, I want food. And then our conscious mind in the Western world is like, oh, I must automatically straight away listen to the subconscious part of my brain, the animal brain, and feed it whatever it wants. And so you've always got this like two-way circuit. But if you like fast and do other things like even stay away from sex, for example, for a while, and can tell your animal mind, no, sit down, calm down, I'm in control here. I decide when these things happen. You'll start to silence your subconscious mind, and that's when you can start finding your deep spiritual mind.
I love the way you said that, and I love the fact that you brought in the sex thing because that's also part of Ramadan fasting is that you don't have sex during the day because you're focusing totally on the spirit, basically. Um, and there was something you said earlier, and I'll bring it back now. You said you fast during the whole year. So do I, and it's because of like we have the first world problems, and my first world problem is I work comfortably from home, and I can go down to the fridge and eat when I don't need to. And it talks. This is the thing you're talking about. Like we go with our feelings. I feel like another coffee. I'll just go down. We're so privileged, really, that we can just get a coffee anytime, eat whatever we want, and then we harm ourselves because obesity is generally the biggest killer. London's got a special thing where loneliness is the biggest killer, right? Okay, these are not good things, by the way. All right. So yeah, so I fast throughout the year because my life is too easy and I need the breaks. It's like stop doing it, stop snacking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you think about that?
No, I agree with you. So yeah, what I try and do as well is just I either go for the one meal a day, but at the moment I'm going for two meals. But I go the majority of time not eating because like at the moment I eat 12 and 9, which is 9 hours in between. But then all the other 13, was it 15 hours?
Mm.
Yeah, the other 15 hours, I'm not eating. So I'm fasting the majority of the time. And one thing I realized recently as well is it's funny because the first meal of the day, what's it called?
Sahur, the
Breakfast. Break
breakfast.
the
Yeah,
fast.
yeah. I think that's where it comes from. Comes from. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
break the fast. But I say no, skip break. Do not eat. Do not break the fast there. Break it later on. Keep that fast going longer because your body's already fasted while you're asleep. And they say, oh, break the fast now. I'm like, no, don't break the fast. Keep going. That's why I wait till lunchtime before I eat.
Oh, okay. In Islam, it's really important to have the first meal, but then that'll be a whole different discussion. Um, so yeah, and so I've outlined three things, but I don't want to hijack or take over the whole conversation. Is anything like you feel like I missed out, something important that we should discuss?
Now, I think that was very well put. And, I'll just highlight two things. One, we didn't really get into it, but like Saudi Arabia, they flip their time and everyone starts living at night. That sort of breaks with the spirit of what I think Muhammad was trying to say. And then
100%.
the second thing I would say is, yeah, don't just wait for Ramadan. It's good, as Khalid says, to if you can, do it all year round.
I love that you keep bringing up really important points because a lot of people say this, like, "Oh, look at the Arabs, right? Especially the Saudis. We got loads of money and they don't even have to work, really, right? They're like, you know what? We're just gonna party all night. They don't even pray. You're supposed to be praying all night, right? It's like, nah, let's just eat all night. It's like that's and then sleep all day. Oh, come
Yeah,
on, man! You just and then they even have like vitamin D problems. They're living in the sun, right? But they don't go out. It's like, anyway, so you can mess anything up. Like I could be the fittest guy in the world. If I jump off a cliff and kill myself, I'm not going to blame my fitness regime. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, use a bit of common sense, do it in balance. I think the way you said it was the best. Like Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, did not intend you to do that. Like there was another regime which is praying and stuff like that, and I like the way you're saying stuff. It's really cool. Okay, so that's the first little video done. Let me stop